September 2025 will be remembered as the month Arizona's desert sky unleashed pure chaos. Instead of the usual dry heat, a monster storm rolled across the state, turning calm cities into disaster zones in a matter of hours. Phoenix was the first to be hit. Hail the size of golf balls punched through windshields, ripping across neighborhoods as floodwaters swallowed entire stretches of Interstate 10. Cars were left bobbing helplessly, families trapped as the highway turned into a raging river. In Scottsdale, luxury homes stood knee-deep in water while shopkeepers frantically piled sandbags against doors, fighting a losing battle as rushing floods tore through storefronts. Flagstaff fared no better. College dorms had windows blown out by ice, and torrents of mud rushed down mountain roads, cutting off routes to the Grand Canyon. By the time skies cleared, 40,000 homes had gone dark, and Arizona was reeling from one of the most violent weather events in its modern history. The desert is supposed to be predictable, but this storm proved nowhere as safe from a climate spiraling out of control. It started with a dangerous collision in the atmosphere, two forces on a crash course over Arizona. On September 26th, a late-season surge of monsoon humidity refused to let go of the desert air. At the same time, a Pacific low-pressure system swept inland, dragging a wall of unstable winds across the southwest. When the two met, the sky over Arizona turned volatile. Towering thunderheads exploded upward, blackening the horizon. Radar screens glowed with violent streaks of red and purple, an unmistakable signal that something far more powerful than a summer storm was brewing. Meteorologists warned of the perfect storm cocktail: suffocating humidity, sharp temperature swings, and violent wind shear twisting high in the sky. By noon, the first thunderclaps cracked across Scottsdale, rattling windows and nerves alike. And with them came the beginning of a 48-hour siege. Hail, torrential downpours, flash floods, and destructive winds would soon tear through Arizona's largest cities, leaving behind a trail of wreckage that no one expected in the heart of the desert. Scottsdale was the first city to take the hit, and it happened fast. On the afternoon of September 26th, clouds thickened without warning, plunging the desert sky into darkness. Within minutes, the calm broke. Hail began hammering down with a violence few had ever seen. Residents described the roar as deafening, like 1,000 rocks slamming rooftops at once. Hailstones measuring 1 to 1.5 inches across golf ball sized smashed into cars, shattering windshields and denting metal beyond repair. Roof tiles split, skylights imploded, and in neighborhoods from Bell Road to McCormick Ranch, frantic homeowners tried to save their vehicles. But for many, the damage was already done. Old Town Scottsdale turned into chaos. Shopkeepers rushed to shield goods as windows blew apart, alarms wailed, and storefront awnings buckled under the ice. Diners sprinted from patios as hail pelted the streets, leaving sidewalks slick and treacherous. Then the storm shifted gears. The ice turned to torrents of rain over 2 inches in less than 2 hours. Storm drains failed almost instantly. Streets vanished under rushing water, and cars stalled at intersections like stranded islands. Water surged into restaurants, boutiques, and homes, while school officials raced to close campuses as access roads went under. What began as a normal late summer afternoon collapsed into a nightmare of ice water and fear. For Scottsdale, this was only the beginning, a brutal opening act that warned of even greater destruction bearing down on Arizona's cities. As Scottsdale reeled from hail and flooding, the storm did not relent. It barreled westward and took aim at Phoenix, the beating heart of Arizona's metro. By early evening, the sky over the Valley of the Sun turned a menacing green-gray, the classic warning of a hailstorm ready to strike. Moments later, Phoenix was under assault. In the city's northern neighborhoods, hailstones nearly 2 inches across, larger than golf balls, hammered down with brutal force. The sound was deafening, like machine gun fire raking rooftops. Car alarms blared in every direction, and drivers on Interstate 17 slammed on brakes, pulling to the shoulder as their windshields cracked under the icy barrage. Traffic ground to a halt. The destruction piled up within minutes. Exploding transformers lit up the skyline in electric blue flashes as tens of thousands of homes lost power. Heat-weary trees weakened after months of scorching summer snapped in the gale and crashed across roadways, flattening vehicles and cutting off entire blocks. Roofs peeled apart, shingles ripped into the air, and torrents of rain poured straight into living rooms. Even downtown Phoenix was consumed. High-rise workers filmed sheets of hail slamming against glass towers, while restaurants along Roosevelt Row evacuated as rising water invaded dining rooms. Underpasses turned into rivers, swallowing stalled cars as rescue sirens wailed through the storm. By nightfall, Phoenix was in chaos. The storm didn't just hit it overwhelmed, turning Arizona's largest city into the set of a disaster unfolding in real time.
Oh my goodness, this is the deck in the back.
Well, this is nice. We're going to be letting this all the
time. By late evening, the entire Phoenix metropolitan area was paralyzed under the storm's assault. From Mesa to Peoria Tempe to Avondale, no corner of the Valley of the Sun was spared. Highways became choke points of disaster. Interstate 10 vanished beneath rushing floodwater, with cars stalled or abandoned under overpasses like wreckage in a canal. On Loop 101, terrified drivers recorded hail battering their windshields until visibility dropped to zero, forcing traffic to crawl at walking speed. Emergency alerts screamed across cell phones, "Stay indoors, stay off the roads." Public infrastructure crumbled in real time. Rolling blackouts left more than 70,000 homes without air conditioning, a dangerous blow in Arizona's lingering desert heat. Streetlights failed at major intersections, plunging entire districts into darkness and turning rush hour into chaos. In several neighborhoods, water pumps broke down, storm drains backed up, and streets became torrents that swallowed curbs and intersections. Air travel was paralyzed. At Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, more than 100 flights were grounded. Stranded passengers pressed against windows, watching sheets of rain hammer the runways as ground equipment skidded across the tarmac. What Phoenix endured wasn't just a storm, it was a full-scale disruption of daily life. Families waded through living rooms turned into pools, small businesses shuttered under flood damage, and communities were left reeling in the aftermath. In just a few hours, the desert metropolis had been shaken to its core, forced to reckon with a disaster unlike anything seen in years. As the storm's fury peaked, Arizona's emergency systems roared to life in a desperate race against time. Firefighters, police, and paramedics braved torrents of rain and flooded streets, their sirens cutting through the crash of thunder and the roar of rushing water. In Phoenix, more than 200 emergency calls poured in within just 2 hours, reports of motorists trapped in rising floods, families stranded in homes filling with water, and entire neighborhoods pleading for rescue. The Phoenix Fire Department dispatched swift water teams with inflatable boats dragging people from cars swept off roadways like toys in a stream. In Mesa, first responders waded waist-deep to carry children from a submerged apartment complex while Scottsdale crews worked through the night to clear debris, unclog storm drains, and respond to collapsing structures battered by hail. Shelters opened at lightning speed. High school gyms and community centers transformed into safe havens filled with evacuees clutching little more than backpacks. Volunteers and church groups handed out bottled water blankets and hot meals. The American Red Cross set up mobile aid stations tending to the injured and offering comfort to families who had lost everything. Utility workers fought the storm itself, climbing poles and repairing snapped lines while 40,000 households sat in darkness. Tow trucks queued at underpasses to retrieve abandoned vehicles as transportation crews scrambled to reopen lifelines across the valley. Through it all, the resilience of ordinary people stood out. Neighbors linked arms guiding the elderly to safety, while strangers offered shelter and food. Amid destruction, Arizona's spirit blazed brighter than the lightning splitting the sky.
Ooh, holy crap.
Arizona's late September storm was not just a weather event, it was a warning. In minutes, golf ball-sized hail shattered windows, torrential rains swallowed freeways, and flash floods ripped through neighborhoods from Phoenix to Flagstaff. Thousands were left piecing their lives back together, reminded that safety is far more fragile than we often believe. This wasn't some far-off headline. It was America here at home. And as our climate shifts, storms like this will only grow stronger, wetter, and more unpredictable. The question is not if it happens again, but whether we'll be ready when it does. Preparedness starts now. Know your evacuation routes. Keep an emergency kit ready. And most importantly, look out for one another because resilience isn't built by governments alone, it's built by neighbors standing shoulder to shoulder when disaster strikes. If this story moved, you help us spread the word. Like this video, share it with friends and family, and subscribe so you never miss critical updates on extreme weather. And we want to hear from you. Have you ever faced a hailstorm or flash flood in your community? What did it teach you about being ready for the next one? Tell us in the comments your story might help save someone else's life.